Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. It is a spin-off of the website and book review site of Amy's Bookshelf Reviews. Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast is about book reviews, a writer's muse, a book's peruse, author interviews, and literary news. Welcome to the new year, where new things may happen with this. I hope you all enjoy, and thank you for listening.
Good evening, listeners. I'm Amy, and welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. Today, I have authors Gil and Judy Snider with me. Hello.
Hi, Amy.
How are you doing today?
We're fine. We're inside. We've got enough snow outside to keep us inside. So we're
fine.
We're doing fine.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, I live in upstate New York, so I have a little bit of snow out there, but not as much as in the past. But it is cold.
It's cold.
Well, upstate New York, a little bit of snow is 12 inches. So we're dealing with 2 inches of snow down here, and that's enough to keep everybody indoors.
Oh, wow. Because, we have about an inch or two out there to a dusting. And, but it's more cold right now than wintry. It's just, I can be cold in the snow, but when it's just, it's -9 degrees when I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning or even 8 o'clock, it's like, oh, no, I ain't going anywhere. So, you both are authors. You have, you've written books on your own, but there's one book that you actually wrote together, Betrayed. So if you'd like to talk a little bit about how it was to write a book together, because I find it so fascinating, because personally, I don't think I could do that. I could see it being hard to co-author a book. And, you have to, when you're reading it, when somebody's reading it, you want to read it as if it's just like, you can't differentiate between who wrote what, and, it's seamless. And I'm sure you have some interesting stories.
Well, I'll start. Years ago, and we've been doing writing for quite a while, and Gil's been doing his writing, I've been doing my writing. And years ago, we had a book on, this is years and years ago, maybe 30 years or more. And I remember writing the book, and I said to Gil, quick, put a chapter 9 in here. I don't know what to put for chapter 9. He's like, what? And after that, I think he realized that in general, it wasn't a good idea to write a book together because, our styles are very different in both. That's not a bad thing, but it's nice that we got to the point where we could write one together. I tend to write books, Amy, that are taking something from real life. Like one of the books is someone calls on the telephone and asks for a donation, and the person says no, and they track them. That's the one, Donation Man. They track them because they said no, and that was taken from a girlfriend of mine who really did say no. And so that was taken an idea. And then another idea, someone at the door who was, I opened the blinds and there was a face in the door. It really happened, scared the heck out of me. And so that came with another book, This Man at the Door. And so this latest book that we did together, Betrayed, was taken from I went to have a mammogram, and when we got the report back, there was something in the breast. And again, my sister's a 30-year breast cancer survivor, and I have gotten mammograms, but there was something, and it was a little, what would you say, Gil?
The radiologist read it as a marker from a prior breast biopsy, but Judy had never had a breast biopsy.
Oh.
And so it turns out it was just an unusually shaped calcification.
Or so we think.
Yeah. It was an unusual shaped calcification, but then Judy got the idea of what happens to a woman who gets a mammogram and there really is something unanticipated on the mammogram. And that's where Judy got the idea for the book.
Yeah.
And she kind of wrote it with that idea from beginning to end. And then she asked me to look through it and, maybe edit it a bit. And I
She's
said,
really good at editing.
I'm a neurologist, so I'm a physician. And I said, this doesn't work out medically. This doesn't, this is not the way it should be medically. And so I just went into things, and in the course of my editing, I kind of developed it all from a physician standpoint. And that's actually what we've done. And we've done something like that in the past because, being a physician, when I write a thriller, I've got to establish a balance between, for example, a physician or a nurse or a medical person may be reading my book and they have one idea, and then a layperson would read my book and they might be lost in the same information that a nurse or doctor would say, hey, that's really what happens in medicine.
Right.
So I would give it to Judy and say, here, do you understand what's going on? And if she said, no, I don't get this at all, then I'd rewrite it so that, she could understand it better. So so we've done that in the past. And this was sort of the reverse, where she's writing it for a layperson. And I'm thinking like a physician.
And it worked that we could combine them, Amy, he got also interested. It was one of those ones where we sat at the dinner table and we'd say, well, what could this happen next? Or when someone was trying to shoot a knife under something, one part of the book, we'd sit there and go, okay, would it be under the, a table? Would it be under,
Yeah. So there were a lot of things that we would back and forth. So that it really wasn't the sort of thing that she wrote a chapter, I wrote a chapter, she wrote a chapter. I can't see how you could possibly make that work. But
and we had it edited, Karen.
Yeah, and we did have it edited. But
World Castle Publishing did our thrillers, except for Gil's Brain Warp and the first one he'll tell you about. But so she was good at editing, and she knows that I tend to not be wonderful at editing. I tell people writing a book, if you're not wonderful at editing, don't let it stop you. And I used to put like 70 exclamation points in my books, and she'd say, Judy, you really shouldn't have that many in the book.
Judy is very
You're trying
good.
to make a point.
70 times.
Judy is very good at taking a concept, taking an idea, and, running it through from beginning to end, like not necessarily in one sitting, but doing that very quickly. Being a neurologist and a physician, I am literally more cerebral. And so I'm a little bit better at saying, okay, does this make sense here? Is this good medicine? Going through the grammar a little bit better. And so, I'm in that respect, we do have complementary way of looking at the book.
Well, I think that's wonderful because I have written a few stories, and they have many of them have a medical professional in them, either as a minor character or even a major character. And I have a functional brain disorder. And I've read every book on the brain that I could possibly get, so I know how my brain is supposed to work and how it really works, which total opposites. But when I was doing, I did a lot of, research and reading books for my medical professional, and then I made this one doctor. She was really good at. She made it believable that she could actually put some medicine in a person who's deceased, and then they might come back to life. But I also have her, she's like one of those doctors that she tries to talk to her patients without a lot of medical jargon and things like that, even though I do, put that into the story. And I tell you, a lot of my doctors, they have become, they were like references. I'd be like, oh, what if this happened? What would you call this? And they're like, what else is wrong with you? I'm like, no, it's just a question.
No.
So it must help that, like these medical thrillers are they're really something. And
well, it's ironic because Gil's first one he did was self-published, but that one, just two sets.
Yeah, that one was kind of Brainwarp was kind of interesting because the basic plot line was that there's a plot to poison the president of Ukraine because he's leaning too far to the west.
This is weird.
And this back in I started writing it in the late 90s, and it was published in 2003. And 15 months later, somebody poisoned the president of Ukraine because he was leaning too far to the west.
So we said, I mean, nothing to do with Gil's book.
Yes, nothing to do with my book. And that was, of course, decades before the current war in Ukraine. So
that was your first medical thriller. Yeah,
that was my first medical thriller.
I remember reading it. Yes.
Yeah, you did.
And in my second medical thriller, I first got the idea. I was listening to a broadcast, and they mentioned that there are communities in the Middle East where the people in the communities just speak Aramaic, which is the ancient language of the Middle East that Jesus spoke. And because they only spoke Aramaic, they were very isolated from the surrounding communities that spoke Arabic. And being a physician, my first idea was, if they're isolated from the surrounding communities, that's a lot of inbreeding. And so actually that gave me the idea for the last, in which there is a religious a community that is isolated on religious grounds up on a mountain, and for religious reasons. And that is, of course, about a young woman, and I threw in my neurology there, an infectious disease expert with multiple sclerosis. And she has to save the young teenage girl who's got, in this community, who's got an infectious disease, and then find out why she had the infectious disease, and it was someone trying to kill them. And that's when it turns into, that's all I'm going to say.
Don't tell the end.
Don't tell the end.
So that developed from that idea.
So this has been a fun journey. And I know you've done many books. And my favorite, again, is I think, well, I haven't read all your other ones, but is Your Life Story. I think it's a really excellent book.
Thank you. Yeah, it started just. Sometimes I have a story in my head, and it doesn't go away until I get it down on paper. And when I was writing, my idea for writing that book, and I thought, well, maybe if I got it on paper, the memories would just kind of, go away. Well, obviously it didn't work, but, I loosely based some of the stuff in the book actually happened when I'm telling Anna's story. And my most recent one, people wanted to know more about what had happened to me personally, so I added the expanded version in 2022 to show what I had gone through, and then compared what I went through to what Anna went through. One of the things I never let my sons were very young at the time. I wouldn't let them near the court or reporters or anything. So they had Anna had a son who passed away. In real life, that just I was protecting my boys, and I wouldn't let them be in the limelight. And I must say that actually I've gotten a lot of great feedback and reviews from that book and that story, and people like that I'm open with my personal history and also my illnesses, because they just progressed over the last 19 and a half years and became something different. And I found what I found was very interesting with mine, and I don't want to make this about me, but when I raised 3 of my sons on my own. My oldest son, he spent most of the time with his father, my first husband. And my goal was to protect and raise my boys to be independent, kind men. And they are that. And after for 3 years, their last 3 years of high school, I homeschooled them. And that was like 2018. And then they were getting older and getting their life, having their own life, but we still, even to this day, we still live together as roommates. Then my dad got sick and I had to focus taking care of him. And then when I didn't have to, that's when it seemed like when I kind of slowed down, that all the things that were like, my brain put it on hold. And then all of a sudden, it was like a floodgates after I didn't have to take care of anybody but myself. So, And I tell people, I'm like, there's been so many doctors that'll say, well, what if we try this and this and this and this? And I'm like, after a certain point, you're like, no. I'm like, no, it's okay that you can't fix me. It's like I told my sons the other day, I said, yes, I'm broken, so broken that duct tape and super glue can't fix me. But I just keep moving forward.
Funny. That's a good line. I like that. Now, tell me again that I read it and I liked it. And for some reason, I forget titles of books.
It's
I think
Fractured Tears, A Struggle for Justice. And the one that's out is the expanded 2022 version, where the last part of the book is what really happened, timelines, court stuff, things like that, press conferences.
You want to read a little bit of this, Betrayed?
Yeah.
I always do. We do strong female characters. I like strong female characters.
Oh, so do I.
Important to me. Caring people, yet strong. Do you want to just read?
Yeah, that's actually what I did with the last.
Yeah.
I have actually three strong female characters who initially there's Ruth, who's the teenage girl with the infectious disease. There's her aunt Miriam, who is a very strong-willed individual. And then there's Anne, who's the doctor with multiple sclerosis, who's got to adjust to her disease. And at the beginning of the book, the three women there's a very antagonistic or tense relationship between the three of them. But by the end of the book, they have become so loving and connected with each other that they actually combat this prophecy that is about Ruth. So I also like to have strong female characters, and there's one character here that's Betrayed that I'll just read about her. This is she's alone in her apartment. She's a friend of the main characters. Within a few seconds, her mobile phone rang. Who the hell is calling at this hour? Hello? Who is this? She made no attempt to disguise her annoyance. No answer. Another goddamn robocall. She was about to hang up when a man's muffled voice intruded. You should always turn on your lights when you enter your apartment. You might have company. Whoever was on the other end of the line hung up. An icy chill ran through Chloe's body as her heart raced and her breathing quickened. There was someone in the house with her. She must get out, but to get to the front door, she had to go through the living room and right by the darkened hallway leading to her bedroom. She was trapped. Next to the kitchen was a small dining room with a sliding door to her patio overlooking a heavily wooded ravine. The patio itself was enclosed by a low metal railing adjoining her neighbor's patio. If she could get outside, she could jump the railing, alert her neighbor, and escape. Struggling to quiet her desperate breathing, Chloe silently slid off her shoes, felt cautiously by the side of her kitchen cabinet for the baseball bat kept hidden there for self-defense, and grabbed it tightly. Edging silently towards the door, she gently opened the sliding glass door and then the outside screen door. So far, so good. She stepped out onto the darkened patio, illuminated only by the glimmer of a distant streetlight, and shut the door behind her. She stopped and breathed a deep sigh of relief before turning to climb over the railing to the safety of her neighbor's patio. Suddenly, a leather-gloved hand pressed forcefully against her mouth, while another hand grabbed her bat, wrenching it from her grip. Chloe screamed, but the sound was smothered by the glove. She felt her body pressed against that of her attacker and her arms pinned to her side as she was lifted and pushed against the guardrail. Even kicking and fighting as hard as she could, there was no way she could overcome the strength of her attacker, who forced her upper body over the railing, dangling her helplessly over the ravine. Looking down into the blackness of the ravine, she felt the dull thump of the bat reverberating through her head as she was struck on her temple. Struggling to stay conscious, she heard the bat crashing through the branches of the trees and bushes growing up from the ravine before it thudded to the ground in the ravine's inky depths. Mercifully, her brain sank into oblivion as her body was pushed over the guardrail and tumbled in free fall into the darkness.
Wow.
That's it.
Very powerful.
He's reading it, and the reader will really care that happened to this person.
Yeah, that's important.
We try to get scary bad men. I mean, it's like one of Gil's book, Brain. Oh, the guy's so scary. But we try to do scary, like in Break-In, the other one we did about a man that was watching this woman and started dating her. He was really scary. I mean, he's such a nice, kind of, I shouldn't label sociopath, but charming.
Yep.
And the perfect date and whatever.
It's kind of fun to write about bad guys.
It actually is.
You find that too?
Oh, it is fun. There's a lot of villains in some of the stories I write, and I like writing for them more than the ones that are, good. Because they're fun, they're evil, they can...
Yeah, you can let your imagination kind of go wild with the bad guy.
That's true. And we're hoping someday to get these, Amy, one thing with all these that we're actively working to get all our suspense ones made into a movie, Netflix, something. We'd love to see them like on a screen somewhere. So that's something that we're looking into and hoping for.
That's something, even with me, I am, that I would be like, this would just be perfect to watch on TV.
It is, yes.
Like a Lifetime movie.
Yeah, with a twist.
The twist.
So, I wanted to ask both of you, as I'm sure there's a lot of things that you've learned over the years of writing, but is there like one thing that you say, okay, lesson learned, never doing that again?
Maybe I'm sure.
Never do that again. I'm just trying to think. I know that my first book for Brain Warp, I wrote a chapter summary, and the book went very quickly. I did 3 months of research, and then
went to New York,
went for the rest of the book was the first draft. At any rate, was written in 8 or 9 months. For the second one, I didn't do a chapter summary, and I kind of learned a lot as I was writing it. I was sort of writing it on the fly, and it took me a long time. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot in reading about topics that were related to the book. And I found that very enjoyable, actually. But I think that I'm the kind of person that does best with a chapter summary.
Can I tell you, Anne, editor was a big part.
Oh yeah, no, my editor was very helpful.
That was
and Anne McEnany was very. She lives in near Richmond, and she was very helpful.
She edited it before you
getting the book
submitted it.
together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
I think that I tend to work better with a chapter summary.
And I'm total opposite. See, that's what she's like.
Yeah, that's what I said. Judy does best with she gets a concept in her head, sits down, and just writes it beginning.
Or I'm sitting there, and it's like someone is whispering in my ear. Like I'll go back another day and I go, "Did I write that?"
Yeah. I kind of let my characters do the talking. It's like my brain skips my mouth and goes right to my fingers when I'm writing or typing.
Absolutely, and again, that's a different style in Gil, and it's a good blend that he has this way. Although sometimes I can be obnoxious and go, "Will you hurry up?"
Yes, we both go.
Agree on that one.
We both go at very different paces. So,
but we got it. It turned out, as it said. We'll see that someday. And one of the with my again the opposite with my children's books. One of them I did with my sister. I've had 2 self-published with Ex Libris. Anyone who thinks they can't write a book can actually get an editor. They can have it self-published if they choose. These are by World Castle Mine now, but you really can do it because I get a lot of people I have to like convince just to even write a book, any kind of book, because they think they can't. They're insecure. So I pay people to edit. I pay people to illustrate. I found online, and so it's not like you have to be a great artist or you have to be. You would say this with me. You don't have to be a wonderful editor. Get your husband to do it if you're married.
So someone has to be a wonderful editor.
And that's and some everybody has their own writing style, but when someone is new to it, like they're like hesitant to just let go and write.
Yes.
That's the advice I always tell them. I'm like, if you're an outliner or you want to summarize, that if that works for you, that's great. I don't like to be confined to that. I would break the outline anyways. So I just I write until I have to stop and think about it. But I always, and this is something I've told others, that I never walk away from whatever I'm writing at the end of a chapter or a section. I always write at least one line for the next chapter or the next section. So it kind of I pick up where that is, and it makes it
a great idea,
a lot easier. I mean, sometimes you have to walk away, life, for whatever reason, you have to walk away from your writings. But I always make sure that I do that, because then I don't have to go back and say, okay, where was I?
Right. That's a great idea, actually.
I've told a lot of people, whatever works for them. And the other editing thing that I do is I have, once I get to a point where I think it needs to be self-edited, the story's all put together, all the puzzle pieces really fit, I have the computer read it back to me. And then I also read it out loud, because when you read it out loud, you're forced to read every single word. A lot of times when we read, we scan, and don't necessarily focus on every single word. But if you're reading it out loud, you have to, and then you can see, especially dialogue, does it make sense? Would someone really say that? Sometimes I find it interesting that I'll be reading something and they're always the characters. There could be 2 characters, and someone will say their name is Dale and David, and Dale would say to David, why are you going to the store? And then Dale would, and David would say, Dale, I'm not going to. They're like talking, using each other's names every time. But when you think in a real life situation, how many times do you really, if you're sitting in front of somebody talking to them, even you two as husband and wife, do you constantly say, hey, Gil, or hey, Judy, when you're sitting right in front of you? You just have a conversation. You don't necessarily say your name all the time. And some people don't realize they do that. That's why I love to observe people in, their natural habitat. They don't realize that when I'm in the waiting room at a doctor's office, or I'm observing how people interact with each other, because I find it so interesting. And then also in my head, I'm like writing how it would be written, of how they're acting, their gestures and things like that. How would I write what their gestures were? Because you want to make sure that, your characters are relatable.
Mm-hmm. You want to have, you want the characters to be acting in a natural way, that the people will, and that it will be believable that they're acting in a natural way.
Exactly. I do that with movies and TV too. Like, I just can't help it. I'm like, oh, how would I write that? And a lot of times, my kids hate watching movies with me, especially for the first time, because I kind of guess and figure out the storyline, and then then I'm right. And then I'm like, well, it was okay, but if I could predict it, because I also write, so I know how writers think. But if I can't predict it, those are the movies that I like, when they don't necessarily have a happy ever after, and you don't know what's going to happen at the end of the movie before you start watching it.
I absolutely was fun. I do so much. I mean, of course, you got to remember, a lot of times I'll watch ID channel or Lifetime movie or suspense, a lot of suspense. And the other day I was watching one and it got done, and I said to Gil, he was in the other room and he wasn't watching that one, and I said, didn't like it. I had predicted the ending, but it's like, if I was to do the ending, I would have done this and this. And sometimes it wrecks it for me, because it's like the days of not analyzing it totally, but especially when it gets to the end, or certain parts, like, if I wrote that, maybe I would have done this. So I understand when you say that it changes things. You don't do that, do you, Gil?
No.
Gil doesn't do that. I just,
well, that's good. He will be good to watch a movie with then.
We watch some together, action.
Oh yeah,
action.
We watch that all the time.
I like a variety of genres myself, but one thing I like to know what happens the day after. Like at the end of the story, say the building blows up and the heroes are walking off into the sunset or wherever they're walking to, and then roll credits. I like to know what happened the next day. The whole town.
Absolutely. Yes.
So
absolutely.
That's why I always write the next day.
No, it is. Or you'll see some movies like 3 months later, but I like to know. I agree with you. Ideally, I like to know the next day. And we said, if we ever get the books made into movies, I hope they consult us how we want them.
Exactly. Yeah. I need to know what happened the next day. Otherwise, it plays in my head. I'm like, oh, well, it could have been this. How does she deal with what happened to her? So many different things, But yeah, I like to know the next day.
I was going to say, when you said that before, I was just thinking. Now I'm blocking what I was going to say. I do that every once in a while. Well, what was it? Just about the movies. That someday it'll be interesting. Like your life story would. I mean, heartfelt. And I say that by training, I retired for a number of years ago. But by training, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and so worked in all sorts of settings in life. So. It's very, a lot of the books that I read are very poignant because they're real life books, and things that have happened to people and women and men and children in life. And my sister and Marcia Casper Cook and myself also wrote a screenplay that we've had out for years. We're going to hopefully get made into movies someday. And so that was easy to do with my older sisters. I say that older sister, she'd laugh. I said older sister, but... But do you have to mention that? And so we have one that we do with Marcia, that again, another suspense one. And my other sister, who did one of the children's books, that was one of the, that's not a word, funnest, but I like the word funnest.
Hey, one of the funnest. We're writers. We can make up whatever word we want.
We did one called I Love You, Be Careful, which is really a grown-up book about watching a child grow up and the different stages, riding a bike, and the parent always going, be careful, I love you, be careful, I love you. And so she and I had that's kind of every Mother's Day we plug it, but it's really a hard book for me, a children's book. I have some other ones I want to get done, but it's funny how my sisters and I, Joni's the next older than me, and Mary, and it's been nice having them, and not my suspense books really, although the women's characteristics, some of them, I can't help but being one of 3 sisters. So I was raised in a female family, and we have 2 sons. So that's.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of 5, and I only have 1 brother. The rest are sisters.
Oh, so you have sisters, yep.
Yeah. And they all have.
Gil has just, I shouldn't say just boys. You're a boy family.
Yeah.
Well, I have a boy family now. I have 4 sons.
Oh, wow, you do?
Yeah. I live with my one son, William. He and his twin brother, they're fraternal twins. They just turned 25, and
nice.
His brother Louis just got married to the most beautiful woman in the entire world that I would pick to be my daughter.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, she's so amazing. When we decided that we would all, they actually still wanted to live with their mother. And we rent a luxury apartment, 3 bedrooms, and we can afford it because we have, we pay our share, and it's nice.
That's great.
And yeah, we can close our doors, and or we try to at least every once in a while have like a dinner where we all eat together, because everybody's got their different schedules and things like that. But my sons grew up, the 3 of them, 3 out of the 4 like me, but the ones I raised, they love me and like me, so that says something. But they're pretty amazing young men, and they could have used what happened as an excuse to do things wrong, pick a wrong path, but they didn't. I mean, one thing my mother taught me so much, but she taught me to be kind, and
that's very, very important.
I think that is one of the most important lessons out of everything she taught me, was to be kind. And my sons, when they were little, and I noticed, like, some parents, if you give their kids something, the parents are like, say thank you. I never had to do that. My kids just automatically
just did it.
Yeah. My sons they would see someone leaving the store, and they would go, especially, someone who might need help, they would open the door for them. And they always told the cashier to have a nice day, and
it sounds like you've raised them right.
I tried to. I think I don't like being mean. I don't like being angry. I mean, sometimes you feel those things, but
do you put that in your books? Do you find that your various emotions? I know the reason I say that is because I know in Betrayed we really showed the what would you say we showed in terms of emotions in Betrayed?
It's the emotions of the characters involved, especially the main character, as the plot developed. I think we put a lot of that in there.
Definitely.
And also, like I said, with some of the other books, how we had the characters change in terms of the way they viewed themselves and the way they viewed the world and other people. And I think that's important with a book, that you want the characters to develop so that by the end of the book, there's been a perceptible change in them, hopefully for the better.
Yeah, something
and I think we managed to do that.
Yeah, it just takes, something that, you throw something at your characters and see how they react. And hopefully they grow. Because, I mean, I think that just to be a human being, you have to keep growing no matter how old you are, keep learning and things like that. I'm a lifelong learner. And I think that, knowing things are very important. And sometimes I know stuff that are so trivial, but I find it necessary to share it with other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the last, like I said, by the end of the book, I think the 3 main characters have changed in terms of their reactions to each other. They become much more involved with each other, much more trusting, I think, of each other, and that propels the plot along.
Also, the book along. Would you say the MS too? Actually,
yes,
she learns to adapt a lot of MS patients.
Yes, and having MS is a very trying disease. Yeah. It's a very difficult disease to deal with, because it has so many different potential symptoms.
Yep.
And so, being a neurologist, I really wanted, I've dealt with a lot of MS patients. I've seen how they have reacted to and dealt with their disease. And so I wanted to put that as a guiding force towards the book, so that even though the book is the plot is affected by her disease and her reactions to things, and how she learns to deal with it, and as the book goes on. And so
you dedicated the book, didn't you?
Yes, I dedicated the book to my patients with multiple sclerosis, because it's such a difficult disease to deal with, and it was very interesting to write about that. And in fact, there's the TV show that we watch about Oliver Sacks. That also he's a there's a TV show in which he deals with people with neurologic diseases, but most importantly, he says, how is their reaction to having the disease? How do they deal with it? It's not just, oh, they have this weird disease, and that it's not a freak show about diseases. It's these people have a difficult disease, and how they and their family learn to deal with it and still go on with their life.
No,
so I think that becomes part of the book as well.
Yeah, and I think that when you part of when you're writing is it's being able to your words are telling, or they're showing, or they make the reader feel what the character is feeling. It's not always easy to write that way. I have read books that just were like a stereotype book, a fiction book, and say it was just about like, a private investigator or something like that. And it just kind of checked all the boxes for that particular genre. And while technically the writing was, it was technically correct, but there was no passion from the writer. And I can tell having read so many, that when I'm reading something, I can feel the author's passion, especially when I can understand what someone is feeling with that. Say, I don't have MS, I have something else, but how I deal with it today is going to be different than how I deal with it tomorrow. But I understand, the anger, the frustration, and going through various things. There is times when I wrote a story, and then maybe the following year, that a similar situation actually happened to me. There was this one book I wrote back in 2005. It was a sequel, and my character was escaping a kidnapper by running through the woods and trying to, get to safety and things like that. And little did I know that was foreshadowing what happened to me, because I literally had to hide and go through woods and things like that to get help. And I always thought, I'm like, I should. And a lot of things, they just happen. And I'm like, maybe I should just write that somebody's a millionaire, and maybe I'll just, win the lottery. I'll write about it. Maybe it'll happen. But, there are those, even if something is improbable, but emotions are so complex. And, you can love someone, but not like them, So I think that there's, when you can feel their emotions, and I definitely, I was on edge when I read all of your books, even in the children's book, that's something to me. I believe that every adult should read a child's book, because maybe they'll remember what it was like to be, maybe they're a cynical person or they are filled with rage or hate, but reading a children's book, I think that everyone should pick one up and read it, because you might learn something.
I have to put a plug in there. One of my children's books. I used to work in a children's library after social work for about 6 or 7 years, and help kids pick books with my co-workers and friends. And one of the books, my first one I ever did, was called Goldie's Baby Socks, about a family that adopts a cat and all the fun that follows.
Yep.
And it makes you laugh, but it also talks about the kindness, and so, but when you say that, I think of Goldie and I think of the book and people swimming through underwear, because Goldie the cat, collects underwear, and I collect socks actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think those are the type of things we're doing today. We're just, keeping our fingers crossed about movies.
Yep.
We get, I said plugging movies a lot, aren't I? But really,
That's okay.
And I have some other kids' books that I'm thinking about self-publishing, and Gil has a book too in the works, but I can't bug him to do it yet. I'm trying. That'll be next fall. Anything you want to say, Gil?
Whatever you have in your head, and when you put it on paper, I can't wait to read it.
Thank you so much for everything.
Oh, no problem. And
stay warm.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I'm going to, we'll end it here, but I hope that you guys come back on the show in the future and share more about your writing. Maybe you'll write more together, maybe not, but we'll see what happens. So
thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you very much. If you wish for you or your book to be on the show, go to amysbookshelfreviews.com/podcast. Thank you for listening. Be safe and be well.
Thank you for listening to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews. If you are looking to be on the podcast or looking for a book review, you can go to amysbookshelfreviews.com and look for the appropriate navigational menu. Again, thank you all for listening and being a supporter of this podcast and of the Amy's Bookshelf Reviews professional reviewers of books and audiobooks. Thank you all. Be safe and be well. Your Tears, A Struggle for Justice, the 2022 expanded version. Anna's second chance ignited a fierce fight for her life in the pursuit of justice. Anna Coleman is a victim of domestic violence, and she has to navigate not only the justice system, but the reality of what her husband did to her. This story also